Okay, let's talk about some interest formulas. And to compound means to combine or to put together in a whole. So basically, like you put some money in the bank and they're going to say, okay, your interest compounds every so often, which means they're going to look at the amount in your account and they're going to say, okay, let's put some more in there. Let's add a certain percentage. So when finding the amount of money in an account, interest is compounded annually, semi-annually, quarterly, monthly, daily, whatever, we're going to use this formula right here. So this is going to look very familiar with what you have seen before. A is going to be the amount of money after time has elapsed. P, just going to alternate colors as we go back and forth here. P is going to be the principal. That is the original amount. R is going to be the rate. That is going to be the percent, but then we're going to divide it by 100. So we take that percent, we move our decimal 2 places. And T is going to be the number of years. Okay, in the previous formulas we had done, we just said, oh, T is the number of time periods. Now, this is different. In these contexts, it has to be in terms of years. Has to. Now let's talk about the other thing that we haven't talked about. N is the number of times per year. The interest is compounded. Okay, what does that really mean? Okay, well, let's just deal with that. So here's what that really means. It means that I had to walk halfway across the room to grab some stuff. I was stalling, sorry. Okay, if your interest compounds annually, that means it happens once per year. If it compounds semi-annually, then it happens twice per year. So if your interest compounds annually, then at the end of every year, they will say, all right, time to kick your interest in, and then they take that percentage and put it together into the whole amount. Okay, if it's quarterly, that's 4 times a year. Monthly is 12 times a year, and then now we get into some discrepancies here. Daily, you might say it's 365. Technically, banking formulas use 360. However, Delta Math uses 365, and then if it's a leap year, we might say 366. So by the time you get to numbers that large, actually, it's not going to be a huge deal. I'm going to go with 365. Other banking formulas use 360. For what reason, I could not say. Those are the big ideas. You don't have to memorize that. It's common sense. Something happens quarterly, it happens 4 times a year. So let's jump into number 1, and let's see what we're dealing with here. Okay, I like to list all the information. How much money do you have in an account? When they say account, I always go here. Like that's where my mind goes. So A equals P, 1 plus R over N to the NT, and we're just going to plug numbers in the correct place. So let's switch colors one more time. Let's use blue again. How much money do you have in an account? That is asking the amount after time has elapsed, in which $500 was originally deposited 4 years ago, so time is 4 years ago, at 2.5% interest, so the rate is 2.5%, but that really means we're going to take this decimal, move it 2 places, so 0.025. Compounded monthly, monthly happens 12 times a year. So we're going to just plug those numbers in, see what we get. Let's go. Okay, a lot of silent writing there. And we are finding A. There's no solving to do. We don't have to be like, oh, well, let's solve and find out what A is. A is equal to all that, so just type that. And you're going to have an exponent that has 2 things multiplied in it, and that's okay. 1 plus 0.025 divided by 12. And we're going to raise it to the 12 times 4. Notice that N, the variable N, happens twice in the formula. It happens here, and it happens here. All right, so we're going to raise it to 12 times 4. Go ahead and put a 48 there if you'd rather. And that means, let's use 3 decimal places. Good grief, this is money. Better not. Let's use 2 decimal places. That's going to be $552.53. All right, let's move on to number 2. A long time ago, you lent a friend $100 on the agreement that he would pay you back at 4% interest compounded semi-annually. How much money does he owe you after 18 months? And I'm shouting at you when I say months because, well, it's in all caps. And I want us to realize that T has to be the number of years. This says months, so we need to be careful with that. So let's read again, make sure we know what we're dealing with. This is money, and the money is compounded, so we need to use this formula right here. So I lent a friend $100, and he's going to pay me back at 4% interest. Let's move that decimal 2 places to the left. And it's compounded semi-annually, that's twice a year. And then how much does he owe you after 18 months? Well, how much? That's a question of the amount after time has elapsed. And 18 months, you could be like, oh, T equals 18. No, it doesn't. This has to be years. 18 months is how many years? Well, 18 divided by 12 months out of the year, that's going to be 1.5 years. Okay, you can do a lot of that in your head. Just wanted to point that out. 1.5 years. 1 year and 6 months, not 1.6. Just saying. Okay, I always like to write the formula down. Helps me. 1 plus r over n to the nt. And we're going to find out what a is. So $100. I want to know how much my friend owes me. 0.04. We're going to divide it by 2. We're going to raise it to the 2 times 1.5. 2 times 1.5 is 3. If you want to go ahead and call it a 3, you could. But do 2 times 1.5 if you like. $100 times 1 plus 0.04 over 2. And we're going to raise it to the 2 times 1.5. Everything is typed correctly. My friend owes me $106.12.